My name is Patricia, and I'm 54. I'd like to say I'm just an ordinary woman, but according to my sister-in-law, I live a privileged life, ignorant of the struggles of an average person. But more on that later. My husband Robert is also 54. Both of us work full-time during the week. We don't have any children. So the reason why my sister-in-law keeps saying I'm privileged and don't know the struggles of an average person is because we live in a nice neighborhood. It's near both downtown Boston and the bustling Chinatown. And of course, it's within walking distance to the local subway station. My grandfather built a house on his land which my parents inherited, and when they passed away, my husband and I gave up our apartment and moved in. Now this sister-in-law who keeps calling me privileged is 46, 8 years younger than me. She often visits our place. Leaving her husband and their 12-year-old child at home, she travels 2 hours from her home to visit us, at least once every 3 months over the weekend. She seems to love downtown Boston. My sister-in-law is 8 years younger than her brother. Robert was in elementary school when she was born, and he says she was a tiny, adorable baby. Apparently, his parents spoiled her as she was a child born late in their life. But no matter what, I just couldn't bring myself to like my sister-in-law.
It's nice, isn't it, growing up without any struggles in a place like this?
She'd say in a sarcastic tone. Her favorite phrase is, I was born in the countryside where there's nowhere fun to go, while a princess like you must have grown up all snug and warm without knowing such struggles. It's pretty clear she's not fond of me. Despite this, she likes downtown and Chinatown and keeps visiting us. And of course, she always arrives empty-handed. Her reasoning? Even if I brought a gift from the countryside, you'd just make fun of it. She'd arrive empty-handed and go on about how it's nice to be so close to downtown and Chinatown. You must live a life without any struggles. You can live without a car. Us country folks can't live without a car, so gas costs us a lot of money. When I'd reply, but the area you live is nice too, right? I love it. The air is fresh and the people are kind. She'd retort, What's that, sarcasm? You live in a city where you have anything you need within walking distance and good public transportation. If I said, I don't really go out that much, I'm working during the day, she'd respond, What you really want to say is, of course, I live by all the major tourist spots unlike you, right? It makes me want to ask who the sarcastic one is here. Her words can be a bit harsh, so I've expressed my discontent to Robert before. But he dismissed it, saying, Oh, my sister's just outspoken. She's very straightforward. Now, amidst all this, I heard that my sister-in-law is planning to build a house. Then, during one of her visits, I asked, Oh, where? To which she responded, Obviously near my current place, Patricia. Unlike you, I had to buy the land. I wasn't born with any property to inherit like you, so there's no way I could afford such a nice area. Must be nice being rich. By this point, I was genuinely frustrated, so I asked, Well, can you tell me how I should have phrased it so I wouldn't have come off as offensive? She just laughed and said, How about you stay quiet? Everything you say sounds offensive anyway. I was left with no choice but to stay silent. From then on, I was completely left out of the conversations. Ever since then, she visits, but doesn't say a word to me. But she still comes, and even more often than before. And that's because Robert allows it. I asked Robert, Hey, isn't it strange that your sister comes over and ignores me? She uses our bathroom and eats our food, and she still ignores me. He just said, Patricia, I told you she's straightforward. You don't have to talk to her either. She leaves her husband and child at home when she visits us, so we wouldn't have to keep them company as well. It means you don't have to care for her either. But still, one day she went out to Chinatown, came back, used the bathroom and went to bed, all without saying a word. The next morning she ate the breakfast I had prepared, but didn't even thank me and left. Since when did our place turn into an inn? Am I a cook, a maid, and a hotel manager? I feel like we should be charging her for a season pass at this point. 3 months later, she visited us again. Today, she's planning to explore the town. But that evening, she spent a long time talking with Robert. She stayed the night and left the next day. But Robert was excited and showed me a bunch of pictures. Hey, look at this. It's the house my sister built. Oh, her house is all built now. You're going to love this. He showed me a picture of a pristine white building. Indeed, it looked newly built and was very pretty. Isn't this amazing? Robert enthusiastically showed me another picture. I tilted my head. At first glance, it looked like a garage, but from looking at the mop in the picture, I could tell it wasn't big enough to fit a car. Huh? Is that... That's right, isn't it amazing? Robert exclaimed proudly and then shouted out. It's a garage for a motorcycle and it's custom made. My Harley can fit in here. What? I was completely stunned. Yeah, like I said, I can fit my Harley here. I don't understand what you mean. This is your sister's house, isn't it? Well, I've been talking with her about swapping houses for a while. What? Caught off guard by this unexpected response and development, I was shocked. I dropped my plate that I was holding. She's been saying that she likes this house's location for a while now, and I was saying that I don't like how old this house is since it's been passed down from your family for generations. Then she says,
Well, how about I build a new house here and we swap houses?
So I had her build a special motorcycle garage there so I can park my Harley. Wait, huh? What? He never discussed any of this with me. I don't want to leave this house. It's not like I have any particular feelings about her house. Actually, I can't even process it all yet. Robert started to get irritated, perhaps because he didn't expect my objection. As far as I'm concerned, his reaction was unexpected. What are you hesitating for? My sister and I have been discussing this for a while. So what? I was never included in any of those discussions. You guys have been ignoring me this whole time. But think about it, it's a great deal. It even comes with a garage for my motorcycle. Wait, what about me? You like to watch suspense shows, right? There's a TV in their house too. Indeed, Robert loves motorcycles. He treasures his Harley Davidson almost as much as his own life. As for me, I don't have much of a hobby, but if I had to pick, I like watching suspense shows like CSI or Columbo on Netflix. But my commute... Your bus and train ride is only going to be slightly longer, that's all. Slightly longer? It's going to be an extra 2 hours. Well, I can ride my Harley. A 2-hour commute might do you good. You've been gaining some weight recently too, so consider this as a great opportunity to lose weight. Lose weight? Even then a 2-hour commute is absurd. I can't do that every day. But his mind was already filled with dreams of the new house and its dedicated garage for his Harley. He was genuinely surprised and annoyed that I had somewhat of an attachment to our old house. Finally, he gave me an ultimatum. I'm giving our house to my sister and her husband. Theirs is a new house with a garage for my bike. What's there to refuse? If you don't agree, I'll divorce you, he declared. Wait, divorce? Did he just threaten me with divorce? I was taken aback. All right, just give me a night to think about it. I barely managed to utter those words. I crawled into our bed. Shocked, I just spaced out for about 2 hours. A new house with a garage for his bike. It seemed like it was built solely for Robert's benefit. I mean, his sister and her husband didn't even own a bike. That meant they had built the house with the intention of taking ours from the start. And the fact that Robert agreed without consulting me just added insult to injury. And to top it off, he told me he'd divorce me if I didn't agree. It was no different from a threat. I'm not going to forgive him for this. And so, for the next 8 hours until the break of dawn, I hustled with my phone. The following day, I told Robert that I agreed we would move out. I did ask for a couple conditions. 1, to give me 2 weeks to pack since I work on the weekdays, and 2, they can't move in until we've moved out, right? I asked. Well, yeah, I suppose so. Robert agreed. You got them to build a garage, right? So as a sign of gratitude, I want to make sure we leave this house in a pristine state. Let's have the house professionally cleaned and handed over 2 weeks after we leave." Robert agreed to this as well. Satisfied, I called 2 places while Robert wasn't around. The next 2 weeks flew by. Robert was happily packing, singing some weird song about his Harley. I asked my sister-in-law over the phone, "How large are the rooms in your house?" to decide on our furniture arrangement. They would also call about our layout. As they're moving from an apartment, a notice of just 4 weeks for moving is quite short. They seem to be preparing for their move in a rush. Then on moving day, "Hello, we're from U-Haul Moving and Storage," said the movers upon arrival. Please come in this way," Robert directed the workers. However, shortly after, "Hello, we're from 2 Men in a Truck," said another group of movers. "What?" Robert was surprised. I slid past my surprised husband. Please come in this way," and ushered the workers in. "Hold on, what's going on?" Robert shouted. "What's going on? I said we could move, so I'm moving to my new home. Okay, everyone, the boxes with the yellow tape are mine. Please take those this way. I'll need U-Haul to take the rest with them," I quickly instructed. And an hour later, "Well then, thanks for everything. I'll mail you the divorce papers later." "Hold on a second," Robert shouted in panic. I turned back slightly. "You were the one who wanted a divorce, remember?" Leaving Robert behind, I quickly left the scene and got in the taxi I had called for. But it was a very short ride. "Long day, huh?" A man who had been waiting approached me. It was my older brother, Dave. Dave had come to help me move. "Well, it's good that you found a place in 2 weeks. It's a rental, but yeah." "Well, once everything settles down, you can start looking for an apartment or something. But man, what a disaster." "It's more than just a disaster. Anyway, I labeled all the necessary household items like the rice cooker with yellow tape, so I'll still be fine on my own. Dave helped me out. Even though the movers took care of the large items, I still needed help for the rest, so it was a huge help. And with Dave's help, I finished moving within the day. "Well then, call me in a couple weeks." My brother left. 2 weeks passed since the day of my move. My phone rang, just as expected. "Hello?" On the other end was my sister-in-law.
What the hell is going on?
I just listened to her quietly. "The house is gone." I stifled a laugh and looked down. Not being able to speak was killing me.
"It's an empty lot. Why aren't you saying anything?"
"You remember, you told me to keep my mouth shut." My sister-in-law screamed at the top of her lungs. I finally burst out laughing. It seems my sister-in-law and Robert are together. The phone was handed over to Robert. "Did you really have to go that far?" he yelled in a voice close to tears. "Look who's talking, you're the one who threatened me." I was literally in stitches. Besides, I told you that I wanted to make it clean, didn't I?
Your idea of clean is way off.
It's the ultimate state of clean, a fresh start. Robert was clenching his fists in frustration. "Anyway, come over now so we can talk." "There's nothing I need to talk to you about." "If you refuse, I won't sign the divorce papers." "You remember, the day I refused to leave the house, you threatened to divorce me. Look at how quick you've changed your mind."
"Shut up."
"All right, I'll go to your place, but I'm too scared to go alone, so I'll bring someone with me." And so I contacted my brother. "Is this my cue? Here I come." What a reliable brother he is. "Thank you all for gathering today." My sister-in-law's husband, who I hadn't seen since the wedding, began as if initiating another wedding ceremony. My sister-in-law's husband seemed timid. Me, Dave, my husband, his sister, and her husband all took seats around the table in my husband's new home. We couldn't have children present with us, so we had them in the room next to ours. However, the atmosphere in our room was tense. My sister-in-law had come here high-spirited, but was stunned when she saw an empty lot where the house was once built. But since they had already ended the lease of their apartment, they couldn't go back. In a rush, He had the movers bring all of his stuff into his sister's newly built house. As a result, there were 2 of everything, 2 cabinets, 2 tables, which made the space incredibly cramped. I was shocked to see everything in doubles. It was like a broadcasting accident you'd hear about on TV.
Seriously, why would you take the place down? You took it too far.
That's right, just because my sister is laid back and you're the sensitive type, doesn't mean you can do this to her. How low can you be? Robert and his sister were yelling their heads off. I laughed. I inherited that land and house. It was originally my grandfather's, so I can do whatever I want with it. What? My husband was taken aback, and my brother then chimed in. Basically, that land and house were inherited by Patricia, so they're her individual property and don't fall under marital assets. In other words, you, her husband, don't have the right to decide whether to give them to your sister or anything like that.
Huh?
What? My sister-in-law and husband were left speechless by the unexpected turn of events. Well, then you could have told us that first. Then it would have been all fine.
Well, then you could have told us that first. Then it would have been all fine.
Typical Robert and Patricia, always on the same wavelength. So I guess we're now shifting blames. We were silenced too, we protested. You threatened me with divorce and told me not to talk to your sister, so I couldn't say anything. Patricia was being threatened with divorce and you wouldn't even let us speak to your sister. What else could we have done? We tagged up as siblings and questioned them. So I decided to sell the property. The house was too big for me to live by myself anyway. The truth is, the next day after I was threatened with divorce, I made 2 phone calls. One was to Dave, and the other was to a demolition company. They said it would take 10 days to demolish the house. It takes my sister-in-law about 2 hours one way, 4 hours round trip to get here. If she was given short notice for the move, she would have been too busy packing to make the trip. The same goes for my husband, who moved to a newly built home near his sister's apartment, and thus our reprisal was set in motion. Their new home was nothing but an empty lot.
Enough is enough. We've lost our home, you know. Not only that, but we had to move twice, because we temporarily moved into Robert's house when we found out our house was gone, which doubled our moving costs.
Do I look like I care? You should be thankful you're not being sued for trespassing on my property. You couldn't move in because it was razed to the ground, so you dodged a bullet. Ha 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 ha. I couldn't help but laugh. Then I said to my husband, "Do you really think a woman who nags about every little expense is laid back? You're really funny." Dave chimed in. Being dismissive of others doesn't make you laid back, it only makes you shallow. Does that mean you didn't have Patricia's permission when all this moving business started? My quiet brother-in-law finally spoke up. That's right, she told us to shut up, and my husband threatened me. They just went ahead and got all excited on their own. I revealed everything. Then the usually timid brother-in-law started to shake with anger. Hey, what the heck were you thinking? You've been wasting money in Boston and Chinatown for the past 3 months. You left me and the kids while you went on a shopping spree. And since you've decided to live there, you said you didn't need a car anymore and sold it. We can't live without a car here, but this house only has a motorcycle garage. Do you not realize how you screwed everyone in your family? Well, what's gotten into you? My sister-in-law was clearly shaken. I suppose she had never seen him this angry before. Patricia, my brother-in-law, continued. This one here, she told me, "I'm going to take my brother's house and move. If you disagree, I'll divorce you." What? It's surprising how much brothers and sisters can think alike. I was genuinely about to burst into laughter. I knew my stomach was going to be all sore tomorrow from laughing too much. But since I'm a software engineer who can work from anywhere, and I thought it would be sad for the kids if their mom wasn't around, I agreed to her demand. But now that things have come down to this, I realized how my wife's selfishness could hurt my whole family. Besides, what you said earlier about Robert's statement, that woke me up finally. He then took a deep breath and looking at his wife said, "You threatened me." And finally he said, "Well, it's over for us too. I will protect and raise the kids. I'll go along with your threat as if it were a proposition." Well, now it's my turn. Looking at my husband, I also delivered the final blow. Robert, I'll also accept your demand as a proposition. We are truly finished now. Goodbye. Oh, hold on. If I lose the house, that means the situation has changed, right?
Exactly. The situation has changed, so it's not fair to cut us off like this.
The siblings both started shouting. I just brushed them off with my brother-in-law. You guys created this ridiculous situation, got all excited, and now you're just back to where you started, said my sister-in-law's husband. After that, my sister-in-law's husband and I each hired a lawyer, and each pursued a mediated divorce. The newly built house that my sister-in-law had built was apparently going to go to her husband, along with custody of the kids. My sister-in-law, who was a spendthrift, and always out and about, always left the kids' care to her husband, even on weekends, and her kids indeed felt distant and lonely. But now that they're living with just their father, they said they're happier now, since they know their father will always be there for them. The new house ended up belonging to my sister-in-law's ex-husband, because my sister-in-law didn't have enough income to make the mortgage payments. The fact that she was able to squander money in Boston every 3 months, despite having no income, was astonishing. In the end, her splurging habit didn't change, and I heard she was buried in debt. The motorcycle garage was going to be torn down to be converted into a parking lot. My ex-husband, who had also been working all this while, found that he couldn't afford to invest in a Harley once he was kicked out of my house. He lost a significant amount of property in the divorce and had to let go of his Harley. Losing his Harley and his hobby, he vented his frustrations on the lawyer and ended up drowning his sorrows in alcohol. I turned the vacant lot where my house used to be into a parking lot. It's close to Boston and Chinatown, so I was able to charge a high price for parking, and that became a steady income. With that as my starting capital, I ended up buying an apartment. It's a 1-bedroom apartment, but it's quite cozy. I sat in front of the big screen TV with a smirk on my face. My favorite show, CSI, Crime Scene Investigation, is on. Here's my moment to watch it with a beer in hand, uninterrupted. It feels amazing. I took a bath, and I have the ultimate combo. No makeup, pajamas, beer, big screen, CSI. I've got my nuts and snacks, and I'm sinking into the couch as I press the power button on the remote.